anyone who's kind of an advocate for eating better, eating more plants, eating, adopting healthy lifestyle choices, it's very difficult because the environment doesn't necessarily support this. And a bit like everyone is eating protein, like most people are eating protein stuff because they think that's obviously we just need more protein. That's what everyone's doing. It's a cultural kind of mindset shift. So I'm kind of just thinking bigger and kind of going, well, how do we as a society, like our society is not set up for us to be healthy. Like you look at the blue zones, I know Dan Buettner, you look at the longest living people on the planet and they live really long because their environment, the easy choice, the healthy choice is the easy choice. Whereas nowadays, as you said, most of us live in cities. And in cities, there's processed foods, there's busy lives, there's, we tend to just ultra-processed foods proliferate. And I'm wondering, what can we do? Like, I know you've got Zoe, which is obviously you're really coming at it from your perspective, but I'm thinking more as a society, how can we change this? How can we do something about it that's not just about trying to convert one individual to eat better because they feel sick or whatnot?
Yeah, well, this is the real problem, but I think you've got to put it in perspective. So, the UK, Ireland, and the USA are leading the world in ultra-processed foods. I mean, maybe a bit of competition from Australia, but the English-speaking world is really leading the way in ultra-processed foods. So we're around 60% of all our calories are taken with these highly industrial food-like substances. And you compare it to other countries in Europe, France, Italy, Spain, Greece, not necessarily rich countries, they're down at about 15%.
15%?
Okay, so we're having 15. So we're eating 4 times more than countries that are maybe not as rich as us or equivalent to us. So it's clearly a cultural change that's different, which means that it's quite possible for us to move back to that level without involving a lot of money. And it's a question of how do we get ourselves out of this mess that's really been brought up by the usual thing of, UK, US driving, capitalism, free markets, no nanny state, give them cigarettes, give them alcohol, see what happens, we shouldn't interfere. With a vacuum of a lack of food culture. In the Mediterranean countries, they have local markets. They don't use supermarkets as much. Everyone wants to get fresh produce, and people know how to cook. And so it goes to a lot of education. Now, once you're in this mess, the question is, how do you get back to reasonable levels? How do you get back below 20% ultra-processed food? And I think you do need government interventions. You do need not only labeling on foods, to start labeling them as potentially dangerous, like you have on alcohol and cigarettes. And it's not unlike the situation we had in the 1980s with passive smoking. The food, the cigarette industry, the food industry, they're trying to say, well, our stuff isn't that bad. The research it's all a bit misleading. It's not conclusive. It's epidemiology, blah, 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 trying to muddy the water. And they've got billions to spend on, influencing politicians and making sure that nothing changes. So we're fighting that. But I think making ultra-processed food visibly out there as this can potentially harm your health, by all means have it. I'm not for banning anything, but I think you should tell people the honest truth. And there's now very, very good data that if you eat ultra-processed food rather than the whole food equivalent, it will make you overeat by 25%. Now, if that was on every pack, a warning, this food will make you 25% hungrier than eating something else, and you'll eat 25% more by the end of the day or tomorrow, and that's why you're going to get fat. I think it would reduce levels to Mediterranean levels, so 20%. People would say, okay, I'm having this as a treat, but I'm not having this every day because I realize this is my problem. I'm getting addicted to this stuff. These chemicals are, brilliantly fiddling on my mind or my gut, however they're doing it, and I'm going to avoid it. So labeling, honesty and transparency about the latest research, I would be putting a tax on it, just as you do on cigarettes and alcohol. And with that tax, I'd be subsidizing cooking in schools. I'd be subsidizing fresh fruit and vegetables, making school dinners really healthy and not and hospital food healthy, all the institutions. That's really what I would be doing. But I think a lot of it is education and realizing that this costs all of us money. So all taxpayers are paying for the profits of the food industry because we don't link them up with health.
Geez, here, you got my vote, Tim Spector. Here, Tim for president.